The whimpering sound came at 2 a.m. Emma jerked awake in the narrow bed, her heart already racing before her mind caught up. She'd spent 6 years as an ER nurse. She knew the difference between wind in the trees and something alive and hurting. This was definitely alive. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand, thumbed on the flashlight, and swept it across the unfamiliar room. Bare walls. Dust motes dancing in the beam. The smell of old wood and that strange herbal scent she'd noticed when she arrived, like someone had burned sage and something sharper she couldn't name. The sound came again. Softer now. Almost a mule. Emma's breath caught. It was coming from under the bed. She should leave. Call someone. Do literally anything except get on her knees and look under a strange bed in a cottage she'd rented sight unseen because it was cheap and remote and 300 miles from David. But her nursing instincts were already overriding common sense. That sound was a child in pain. Emma dropped to the floor and aimed her phone light into the darkness beneath the bed frame. 2 eyes stared back at her, bright as pennies. Oh my God. She scrambled backward, her pulse hammering in her throat. The eyes blinked. Tracked her movement. Please, a small voice whispered. Hurts. A child. There was a child under her bed. Emma forced herself to breathe, to think like a nurse instead of a woman who'd just driven across 3 states to hide from a man who'd put bruises on her wrist and worse in her nightmares. I'm going to help you, okay? I need you to come out so I can see what's wrong. Can't. Too heavy. She crawled forward, reached under the bed, and her fingers touched burning skin. Fever. High fever. She got her hands under small shoulders and pulled gently. The child slid toward her, a boy, maybe 6 or 7, wearing torn pajamas that might have been blue once. His dark hair was matted with sweat, his breathing shallow and fast. And his skin. Jesus. His skin was covered in angry red burns that looked like brands. What happened to you? Emma pulled him into her arms, carried him to the bed. Her hands moved on autopilot, checking his pulse, his pupils, his airway. The burns were concentrated on his arms and chest in patterns that made her stomach turn. Someone had done this deliberately. The boy's eyes fluttered open, and for just a second, they flashed gold. Bright, impossible gold. Emma blinked. Fever hallucination. Had to be. Alpha King, the boy whispered. His small hand clutched at her sleeve. Find, father. Then his eyes rolled back and he went limp. Emma had kept her jump bag in the trunk. Old habit from her disaster relief days. She ran to the car in her bare feet, grabbed the duffel, and was back in 90 seconds flat. For fluids first. She got a line in his arm, difficult with a patient this small, but she'd done it 100 times in pediatric rotations. Lactated ringers, wide open. His temp was 104.2. The burns looked chemical. She cleaned them carefully with saline, her mind cataloging symptoms even as her hands worked. Silver nitrate poisoning, maybe. The pattern was too precise for an accident. And there was something else mixed in. Those burns had a purple tinge around the edges that she'd never seen before. The boy stirred, mumbled something that sounded like wolfsbane. Emma grabbed her phone to Google it, then stopped. The kid needed fever management more than she needed to chase rabbit holes. She gave him children's Tylenol through the foreport, covered him with a damp cloth. Then she saw it. On his left shoulder, barely visible under the burns, a mark. Not a brand. A tattoo. Intricate, beautiful, clearly professional work. A wolf's head surrounded by Celtic knotwork. Her stomach dropped. She'd seen that symbol before. On the news. Emma fumbled for her phone again, pulled up a browser, searched with shaking fingers. Alpha King Nathaniel Thorne's son missing for 48 hours. $1 million reward for information leading to recovery. The photo on the article showed a small boy with dark hair and solemn eyes. The same tattoo on his shoulder, a royal pack insignia, according to the caption. The same boy currently unconscious in her bed. What the hell did I walk into? Emma breathed. She looked at the child, Caleb, the article said his name was Caleb, and watched as the burns on his arms began to heal. Slowly, impossibly, the angry red fading to pink to nothing. No. No, that wasn't possible. Burns didn't heal in minutes. Skin didn't regenerate like magic. Like something not human. Emma's hands were steady as she adjusted his checked his vitals again. His temp was down to 102. Pulse stronger. But her mind was screaming. The gold flash in his eyes. The impossible healing. The word werewolf in the article she'd skimmed too quickly. She was a nurse. A scientist. She didn't believe in. Headlights swept across the window. Emma's head snapped up. She killed the lamp, moved to the window, and peered through the gap in the curtains. 3 black SUVs were pulling up the long driveway, moving fast. They spread out in a semicircle around the cottage, blocking any exit. Her phone buzzed in her hand. Text message. Unknown number. Her blood turned to ice when she opened it. Found you. And you found something that belongs to us. The words blurred. She knew that phrasing. That casual menace. David. But David was in Oregon. David was 300 miles away. David didn't know where. Another message popped up. A photo this time. Her car. In this driveway. Taken 10 minutes ago. Emma's hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. She looked at the vehicles outside, at the men climbing out. 6 of them. Dressed in black tactical gear. Armed. This wasn't David showing up drunk and angry. This was organized. Professional. A sound behind her made Emma spin around. Caleb's eyes were open. Wide and terrified and glowing gold like coins in firelight. They're not here to rescue me, he whispered, his child's voice suddenly ancient with knowledge. His small fingers gripped her arm with surprising strength. Run. The first window shattered. Chapter 2. Emma didn't think. She scooped Caleb into her arms and ran for the back door. The boy was lighter than he should be, his fever-hot skin burning through her t-shirt. Behind them, the front door exploded inward with a crash that shook the walls. Kitchen, Caleb gasped against her shoulder. Back exit. Gunfire erupted. But it wasn't aimed at them. Emma skidded to a stop in the kitchen doorway, her heart in her throat, as the men in tactical gear opened fire on something she couldn't see. Something that moved too fast, too low to the ground. A snarl ripped through the cottage. Not human. Not even close. Then she saw it. A wolf the size of a damn horse launched itself through the shattered window, its fur dark as midnight, its teeth bared in a savage grin. It hit the first armed man with enough force to snap bones. The man's scream cut off abruptly. Oh God. Emma stumbled backward, clutching Caleb tighter. More wolves poured through the windows. Gray ones, brown ones, a massive rust-colored beast that took down 2 men at once. The cottage became a nightmare of snapping jaws and gunfire and blood. Closet. Caleb pointed with a trembling hand. Hide. Emma dove into the hall closet, pulled the door almost shut, and pressed her hand over Caleb's mouth as his breathing hitched toward a scream. Through the crack, she watched the battle play out in her living room. The wolves were winning. One of the armed men broke free, sprinted toward the hallway, toward them. Emma's breath stopped. She pulled Caleb tighter against her chest, her other hand fumbling for anything she could use as a weapon. She never got the chance. A black wolf materialized in front of the closet door. Bigger than the others. Its eyes gleamed silver in the darkness, ancient and intelligent and fixed on the running man with predatory focus. The wolf didn't growl. Didn't warn. It just moved. The man went down hard. Didn't get up. Emma watched, frozen in horror and fascination, as the black wolf's body began to change. Bones shifted. Fur receded. In the space between one heartbeat and the next, a man stood where the wolf had been. Naked. Covered in blood that wasn't his. And looking directly at the closet where Emma hid. Caleb. His voice was rough, commanding, threaded with relief and rage in equal measure. Come out. Now. Caleb wriggled free from Emma's arms and threw the closet door open. Dad. The man, because Emma's brain was insisting he was a man despite what she'd just seen, dropped to one knee. Caleb crashed into him, and for a moment the warrior disappeared beneath the father. Strong arms wrapped around the small body, a scarred hand cradling the back of Caleb's head. I've got you, the man murmured. I've got you, son. Then his eyes lifted to Emma, and she forgot how to breathe. He was maybe 35, built like he'd been carved from stone and violence. Dark hair, sharp features, a jaw that could cut glass. Scars crossed his chest and shoulders, claw marks, burn marks, the kind of damage that came from a lifetime of fighting. But it was his eyes that held her. Silver gray and blazing with an intensity that made her feel stripped bare. You. He stood, set Caleb carefully behind him, and took a step toward the closet. Toward her. Who are you? Emma's mouth was dry. Emma. Emma Reed. I'm just renting. Nathaniel. Another man appeared in the hallway, pulling on a shirt. Blonde, younger, with the same predatory grace. We need to move. There could be more. Nathaniel. The name clicked into place with the face from the news article. Alpha King Nathaniel Thorne. Which meant werewolves were real, and she was standing in a cottage full of them. Emma's vision grayed at the edges. Don't you dare faint, Nathaniel snapped. He crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, caught her elbow when she swayed. His hand was warm, rough with calluses, and the touch sent a jolt through her nervous system that cleared the fog instantly. He went completely still. His nostrils flared. Those silver eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. Who marked you? The question came out low and dangerous. What? Emma tried to pull her arm free. His grip gentled but didn't release. Your scent. Nathaniel leaned closer, and Emma's heart kicked against her ribs. You smell like, he stopped. Inhaled again. Something flickered across his face too fast to read. Who put their claim on you? I don't know what you're talking about. Emma's voice came out steadier than she felt. Let go of me. Sir. The blonde man, Marcus, he'd called him, appeared at Nathaniel's shoulder. The attackers. They weren't rogues. Nathaniel's attention snapped away from Emma. What? Pack wolves. I recognized 2 of them. Marcus's expression was grim. We've got a traitor. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Nathaniel released Emma and turned to study the bodies on her floor. She tried not to look at them. Failed. Her nursing training catalogued injuries automatically even as her civilian brain screamed. Thomas's unit, Nathaniel said quietly. These are my own men. Marcus corrected. We can't go back to Pack lands. Not until we know who's involved. Caleb made a small sound. Emma's gaze shot to him. The boy was pale, shaking, his small hand pressed to his chest. Hey. She moved past Nathaniel without thinking, dropped to her knees beside Caleb. What hurts? Burning. Caleb's voice was thin. Inside. Emma pressed her palm to his forehead. Still fever warm, but that wasn't what made her stomach drop. His lips were tinged purple. His breathing too fast, too shallow. The wolfsbane spreading. She looked up at Nathaniel. How long was he exposed? 2 days. Nathaniel crouched beside her. His hand on Caleb's shoulder was gentle despite the violence Emma had just watched him commit. We've been searching. 2 days. Emma's mind raced. That poison should have killed him already. Why hasn't it? He's fighting it. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. He's strong. But he's running out of time. Emma grabbed her medical bag from where she dropped it. I can slow it down, but I can't stop it. You need to get him to a hospital. No hospitals. They'd ask questions we can't answer. Nathaniel caught her wrist. You're a nurse. We are. 6 years. Emma met his eyes. But I can't cure wolfsbane poisoning because that's not something that exists in my world. Or didn't. Until about 5 minutes ago. Marcus cleared his throat. We need to move this conversation. This location is compromised. Agreed. Nathaniel stood, lifted Caleb like he weighed nothing. You're coming with us. Emma stayed on her knees. Excuse me? You saw their faces. You're a witness. And you, he stopped, that strange look crossing his face again. You're not safe here. I have a restraining order. A job. A life I'm trying to rebuild. Emma pushed to her feet. I'm not going anywhere with. You stopped having a normal life the moment a rogue wolf marked you as his mate. The words hit like a physical blow. Emma's hand went automatically to her wrist, to the bruises David had left. The bruises that were shaped like fingerprints but felt like they burned. David, she breathed. Nathaniel's expression went flat. That his name? The one who put his scent all over you? He's not, he was my boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend. I left him. He's human. But even as she said it, Emma remembered things that hadn't made sense. The way David's eyes sometimes caught the light wrong. How he always knew where to find her. The night he'd grabbed her wrist and it had felt like her skin was on fire. He's a rogue werewolf, Nathaniel said bluntly. And he marked you. That's why you can smell this. He gestured to the carnage in her cottage. Why you didn't run screaming when you saw us shift. The mark is waking up something in your blood. Emma shook her head. That's insane. Is it? Marcus moved past them to examine the cottage. He crouched by the back door, ran his fingers along the frame. Because there's his scent right here. And wolfsbane. And silver. He looked up. This was a trap. The cottage, the rental listing, all of it. Someone wanted her here. Why? Emma's voice cracked. Marcus stood, dusting off his hands. My guess? Exchange point. You're human, neutral ground in our world. Someone planned to use you as a negotiator for Caleb's ransom. But I wasn't supposed to arrive until tomorrow, Emma whispered. She remembered the rental agent's surprise when she'd showed up a day early. I changed my plans at the last minute. Which means you found Caleb before the exchange. Nathaniel's eyes hadn't left her face. You saved his life. Dad. Caleb's voice was small. He lifted his head from Nathaniel's shoulder, looked at Emma with those two old eyes. She smells like Mom used to. Honey and rain. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Nathaniel's face went blank. Carefully, dangerously blank. What did you say? Mom. She smells the same. Caleb reached a small hand toward Emma. That's why I wasn't scared when I woke up under the bed. Emma didn't understand the look that passed between Marcus and Nathaniel. Didn't understand why Nathaniel's hands tightened on his son until Marcus cleared his throat in warning. We need to go, Marcus said quietly. Now. Nathaniel nodded once. Started for the door. Stopped. Caleb convulsed in his arms. No. Nathaniel dropped to his knees, laid Caleb on the floor. No, no, no. Caleb. Stay with me. Emma was moving before she thought. She pressed her fingers to Caleb's throat, felt his pulse flutter and skip. His lips were blue now. The purple tinge spreading up his neck. It's in his bloodstream. She looked at Nathaniel. Heading for his heart. Minutes, maybe less. He needs an alpha's blood. Nathaniel was already rolling up his sleeve. It'll purge the poison. Won't work, Marcus interrupted. You're his father. Same bloodline. The transfusion will reject. Then find me another alpha. Nathaniel's voice was raw. Now. We can't. Marcus's expression was anguished. We don't know who the traitor is. Any alpha we bring in could be the one who did this. Emma stared at Caleb's small, still face. Watched his chest rise and fall in shallow gasps. Her hands moved on instinct, checking vitals, calculating time. Not enough. They didn't have enough time. Use mine, she heard herself say. Both men looked at her like she'd grown a second head. You're human, Nathaniel said flatly. You said the mark was waking something up in my blood. So use it. Emma met his eyes. I'm O-negative. Universal donor. If there's even a chance. It's impossible. But Nathaniel was already moving, grabbing her medical bag. You'd need alpha blood too. Emma's vision blurred. Heat swept through her body like wildfire, concentrated in her chest, her hands, behind her eyes. She gasped, stumbled, and Nathaniel caught her. His eyes went wide. Your eyes. What about them? They're gold. Emma looked down at her hands. They were glowing. Faintly, impossibly, her skin emanated a soft golden light that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Holy hell, Marcus breathed. She's a dormant wolf. That's not possible. Nathaniel's grip on her arms tightened. Dormants don't activate without, he stopped. Stared at her. The mate bond. The rogue's claim is activating your bloodline. Emma didn't understand. Didn't care. All she knew was Caleb was dying and something inside her was screaming to save him. Then use it, she said. Use me. Save your son. Nathaniel looked at her for one long moment. Then he nodded. Marcus. Get me a transfusion kit. Now. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. The needle went into Emma's arm clean, but what came out wasn't entirely human anymore. Her blood ran gold into the transfusion line. Literal gold, shimmering and warm, flowing toward where Caleb lay gray and still on the cottage floor. Marcus held the boy's arm steady. Nathaniel held Emma. It's working. Marcus's voice was tight with relief. His colors coming back. Emma barely heard him. Fire was spreading through her veins, following the path her blood had taken out of her body. Her bones ached. Her skin felt too tight, like something underneath was trying to claw its way free. How long? Nathaniel's hands were on her shoulders, grounding her. Another minute. Maybe 2. Marcus adjusted the flow. His heart rate stabilizing. 2 minutes felt like 2 hours. The pain built in waves. Emma's back arched, a scream locked in her throat. Her vision blurred gold at the edges. She could feel her body trying to change, could feel something wild and ancient waking up inside her chest. Emma. Nathaniel's voice cut through the haze. Look at me. She couldn't. Her eyes were screwed shut against the pain. His hands moved to her face, rough and surprisingly gentle. Open your eyes. Now. She did. His face swam into focus, all hard edges and silver eyes that held her like an anchor. Breathe, he ordered. You're fighting it. Don't fight it. Hurts, she gasped. I know. Something flickered across his expression. Almost like understanding. But you're stronger than this. Let it come. Emma's control shattered. The change ripped through her. Not complete, she stayed human, mostly, but white fur sprouted along her arms in patches. Her fingernails lengthened into claws. Her teeth ached as canines pushed forward, too sharp, too long. She felt Nathaniel's weight press her down into the floor, pinning her wrists when her claws nearly caught his throat. His body was solid against hers, his breath warm on her face as he held her through the worst of it. "That's it," he murmured. "Let it burn through." Emma heard herself growl. The sound should have terrified her. Instead it felt right. Natural. Her wolf rising to meet his. Then, as quickly as it started, it stopped. The fur receded. The claws retracted. Emma lay panting beneath Nathaniel's weight, her body trembling with aftershocks. "Done." Marcus's voice sounded far away. "The poison's clearing. He's going to make it." Nathaniel didn't move. He stared down at Emma, his expression unreadable. One hand still gripped her wrist. The other had somehow ended up tangled in her hair. "White," he said quietly. "What?" "Your wolf. White fur." He released her carefully, sat back on his heels. White wolves are born leaders. Royal bloodlines. They don't just appear out of nowhere. Emma pushed herself upright, her arms shaking. "I don't know what you're talking about. Your parents. Your family. Where are they from?" "I don't know." The words came out sharper than she intended. "I was adopted. Left at a hospital in Portland when I was 3 days old. No note. No family history. Nothing." Nathaniel and Marcus exchanged a look that made Emma's stomach knot. "What?" she demanded. "White wolves don't abandon their children," Marcus said carefully. "They're too rare. Too valuable." "Well, mine did." Emma looked at Caleb, who was breathing easier now, color returning to his cheeks. "Can we go? This place is making my skin crawl." Nathaniel stood, lifted his son. "Marcus. Clean this up. Make it look like an animal attack. Nothing supernatural. Where are you taking her?" "Somewhere safe." Nathaniel's eyes met Emma's. "And we need to talk." The cabin was an hour north, buried so deep in the Olympic forest that Emma lost track of the turns after the first 20 minutes. Nathaniel drove in silence, Caleb asleep in the back seat, wrapped in Emma's jacket. When they finally stopped, it was in front of a structure that looked more fortress than home. Stone and timber, built into the side of a ridge, with windows that reflected the moon like watching eyes. Inside. Nathaniel carried Caleb toward the door. "Now." Emma followed because she didn't have another choice. And because despite everything, the impossibility, the terror, the blood, she wasn't ready to leave that little boy. The interior was sparse. Functional. A main room with a stone fireplace, a kitchen that looked barely used, hallways disappearing into darkness. Nathaniel laid Caleb on a leather couch, covered him with a blanket. Emma knelt beside him automatically, checking his pulse. Steady. Strong. His breathing even and deep. "He'll sleep for hours," Nathaniel said. "The transfusion takes a lot out of them." "Speaking from experience?" "Yeah." He moved to the fireplace, started building a fire with efficient movements. "I've done this before. Too many times." Emma watched the flames catch. "How old is he?" "Really?" 6. Almost 7. Nathaniel's voice was rough. "His mother died the day he was born." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. You didn't know her." He stood, brushed off his hands. "Isabella was," he stopped. Started again. "She was everything. And I killed her." The raw pain in those words made Emma's chest tight. "Childbirth complications aren't your fault. You don't know that." Nathaniel's eyes were haunted. "In our world, childbirth should be easy. Natural. But Isabella was human. I knew mating with her was dangerous. I did it anyway." Emma understood then. The grief. The guilt. The way he'd looked at Caleb like the boy was both his salvation and his damnation. "He's a good kid," she said softly. "He's the best thing I ever did." Nathaniel looked at his sleeping son. "And every time I see him, I remember what it cost." A small sound interrupted them. Caleb stirred, blinked awake, and his face lit up when he saw Emma. "You stayed," he said. "Yeah, kid. I stayed." Emma smoothed his hair back. "How are you feeling?" "Better." Caleb sat up, leaned into her without hesitation. "Thank you. For saving me." Emma's throat tightened. She wrapped an arm around his small shoulders, felt him burrow closer. "Emma, Mom," Caleb murmured, already drifting back to sleep. She froze. Looked at Nathaniel. His expression was carefully blank. "He's confused." "The transfusion." "I know." But Emma's heart was doing something complicated in her chest. Something that felt dangerously like attachment. The next 3 days blurred together. Nathaniel announced the full moon was coming. That Emma needed to learn control before her wolf took over completely. That he was going to teach her whether she liked it or not. Emma didn't like it. Again, Nathaniel ordered. Emma gritted her teeth. They were in the clearing behind the cabin, the afternoon sun slanting through the trees. She'd been trying to shift for 2 hours. Nothing was working. "I can't." "You can. You did it once already." He moved closer, circled her like a predator. "Stop thinking like a human. Feel it. That's not helpful. Focus." His hand landed on her shoulder, warm through her t-shirt. "The wolf is already there. You just have to let go." Emma closed her eyes. Tried to find that wild thing she'd felt in the cottage. Nothing happened. Nathaniel's hand slid to the back of her neck. "Feel my wolf. Reach for it." And God help her, she could. She could feel his presence like heat against her skin, could sense the predator coiled beneath his human exterior. Her body responded instinctively, something in her blood recognizing something in his. The change started. Slower this time. More controlled. White fur rippled across her arms. Her senses sharpened. She could smell everything, the pine sap, the creek water half a mile away, Nathaniel's scent like smoke and winter. "Good." His voice was lower now. Rougher. "Keep going." But Emma's wrists suddenly burned. The place where David had grabbed her flared with heat, and her wolf recoiled like she'd been struck. She gasped, stumbled back. The partial shift collapsed. Nathaniel caught her before she hit the ground. "What happened?" "The mark." Emma pressed her hand to her wrist. "It burns when I'm near you. When I try to shift." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. He took her wrist, examined it. "It's fighting the mate bond." "What mate bond?" He looked at her. Just looked at her, those silver eyes seeing too much. "Your wolf recognizes mine. Wants mine. But the rogue's claim is in the way." Emma's breath caught. "That's not, I don't." "Lie to yourself if you want. Your wolf doesn't care." He released her wrist. Again. They went another hour. Emma managed a partial shift twice more, but each time the burning drove her back. By the time Nathaniel finally called it quits, she was exhausted and frustrated and too aware of how his hands felt when he corrected her posture. Marcus arrived at sunset with news that made Nathaniel's expression go dark. 3 suspects, Marcus said. They stood in the cabin's kitchen while Caleb colored at the table. Thomas, Rachel, and Grant. All had access to Caleb's schedule. All have been with you for years. Thomas is head of security, Nathaniel said. Rachel's been Caleb's nanny since he was born. Grant's your oldest friend, Marcus finished. I know. But one of them sold you out. What about the rogue? Emma asked. David? Marcus pulled out his phone. Phone records show contact with someone in the pack. The number's encrypted, but our tech guys are working on it. Why would David be involved? Emma's mind was racing. What does he get out of this? You, Nathaniel said bluntly. The traitor probably promised him you in exchange for help with the kidnapping. The thought made Emma's skin crawl. This whole thing was about me? No. It's about killing me and taking Caleb as leverage. You were just supposed to be the neutral party that made it all legal in our laws. Nathaniel's eyes were cold. They didn't count on you arriving early. Didn't count on you saving him. Emma looked at Caleb, who was drawing wolves with careful concentration. What happens now? We find the traitor, Marcus said. Before they make another move. The nightmare came at midnight. Emma jerked awake with a scream trapped in her throat. The images were still burned into her mind, wolves surrounding a bed, a woman's screams, blood on white sheets. But they weren't her memories. She'd been looking through someone else's eyes. A woman with long dark hair and terror in her expression. A woman who was dying as she pushed new life into the world. A woman whose last sight was a face leaning over her, whispering, "The child will be the end of us all." Emma's hands were shaking as she pushed out of bed. The cabin was dark and quiet. She made it to the hallway before her legs gave out. Emma? She looked up. Nathaniel stood in his doorway, bare-chested, his hair mussed from sleep. Your mate, Emma whispered. How did she really die? Nathaniel went very still. What? Isabella. Tell me exactly what happened. Childbirth complications. I told you. No. Emma pushed to her feet. I just saw her die. Through her eyes. Someone was there. Someone said, her voice cracked. Someone said Caleb would be the end of you all. Nathaniel's face went white. That's not possible. I saw it. I don't know how, but I saw it. Emma's hands clenched into fists. Your mate didn't die from complications. She was murdered. The silence that followed was deafening. Then the windows exploded inward. Glass rained down as wolves poured through the openings. Not Nathaniel's wolves. Rogues, their eyes wild and red-rimmed. And leading them was a woman Emma recognized from the photos in the cabin's hallway. Young, blonde, with a smile that had seemed warm in the pictures. Rachel. Caleb's nanny. Sorry, Alpha. Rachel's voice was almost apologetic. But your bloodline ends tonight. She raised a gun. Silver bullets, Emma's mind supplied distantly. And fired. Nathaniel moved, but not fast enough. The bullet caught him in the chest, punched him backward. He hit the wall and slid down, blood spreading across his skin in a dark stain. Emma felt something break inside her. Something primal and furious and entirely wolf. Her shift wasn't partial this time. White fur exploded across her body. Her bones reshaped in seconds. Her scream became a howl that shook the rafters. Rachel's expression shifted from triumph to terror. Oh sure. Emma's wolf didn't let her finish. She was faster than thought, stronger than she had any right to be. Her jaws closed around the gun, crushed it. Her claws found flesh. The other rogues tried to stop her. She tore through them like paper. Somewhere in the chaos, she heard Caleb screaming. Heard footsteps running. When she spun toward the sound, Rachel was gone. And Caleb with her. Emma shifted back, the change violent and disorienting. She stumbled to where Nathaniel lay bleeding, dropped to her knees beside him. Don't you dare die. Her hands pressed against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. We're getting your son back. Nathaniel's eyes were glazed with pain. One hand came up, touched her face. The mate bond, he whispered. You can feel it too, can't you? Emma's breath hitched. Because she could. She could feel him like a second heartbeat, could sense his pain like it was her own. "Yeah," she said. "I feel it." His eyes closed. His hand fell. And Emma threw back her head and howled. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. Emma's hands were slick with Nathaniel's blood. "Stay with me." She ripped open his shirt, exposing the wound. The bullet had gone in clean, but silver didn't work like normal metal. It was spreading through his system like poison, turning the veins around the entry point black. Marcus crashed through the broken window, shifted mid-air, landed human and already moving. How bad? Bad. Emma's training took over. "I need tweezers, alcohol, clean cloth. There's a med kit in the bathroom." "I'll get it." Marcus was gone and back in seconds. Emma worked fast. The bullet was lodged between ribs, close to his heart. Too close. Her hands were steady as she probed the wound, but her wolf was screaming inside her chest. "Mate. Dying. Save him." "Got it." She extracted the bullet with tweezers, dropped it into Marcus's outstretched hand. The silver sizzled against his palm. But Nathaniel didn't improve. His breathing was shallow, his skin gray. The black veins were spreading. "It's not working." Emma pressed cloth to the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "Why isn't it working?" Marcus's expression was grim. "Silver poisoning. Once it's in the bloodstream, there has to be something." Emma's voice cracked. "We didn't survive all this for him to die now." "There is." Marcus gripped her shoulder. "You have to accept the mate bond. Completely. It's the only thing strong enough to purge silver from an alpha's system." Emma's hands stilled. "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. Your wolf knows." Marcus's eyes were urgent. "But you have to break the rogue's claim first. And you have to mean it." Nathaniel's eyes opened, barely focused. His hand found hers, gripped weakly. "Kiss me," he whispered. "Your wolf knows." Emma didn't think. She leaned down and pressed her lips to his. The effect was immediate and devastating. Heat exploded through her body. The rogue's mark on her wrist, David's claim, ignited like she'd pressed it to a brand. Emma gasped against Nathaniel's mouth, and he swallowed the sound, his hand coming up to cup the back of her head. The kiss deepened. Desperate and raw and nothing like Emma had ever experienced. She felt the moment the rogue's mark shattered, felt it burn away like paper in flame. Felt something else snap into place, solid and unbreakable. The mate bond. It roared through her like wildfire. She could feel Nathaniel's pain as her own, could sense his wolf rising to meet hers. Could feel his heartbeat synchronizing with her pulse. When she pulled back, Nathaniel's eyes were clear. Silver and bright and alive. The black veins were receding. The wound was already knitting closed. "Holy hell," Marcus breathed. Emma sat back on her heels, her whole body trembling. She could still feel Nathaniel, not just physically close, but inside her head. A presence that was distinctly him, wrapped around her consciousness like armor. And through that connection, she felt something else. Something small and terrified and miles away. Caleb. The name came out as a gasp. "I can feel him." Nathaniel sat up, his hands still tangled with hers. "Where?" Emma closed her eyes, followed the thread of connection. It led north, through trees and darkness, to a structure that tasted of rust and fear. Mining facility. Abandoned. Maybe 30 miles from here. The old Bridger operation. Marcus was already on his phone. "I'll call our people." "No." Nathaniel's voice was hard. "We don't know who we can trust. Small team only. You, me, Emma, and 2 wolves you'd stake your life on." "She's had 2 days of training," Marcus protested, jerking his chin at Emma. "She's my mate now. My equal." Nathaniel's eyes met Emma's. And she just took out 4 rogues in full protective fury. I'd say she's earned her place. Emma's wolf preened at the praise. Her human side was terrified. I'm going, she said. That's not negotiable. Marcus sighed. Fine. But you follow orders. Both of you. He pointed at Nathaniel. And you don't do anything stupid because your mate's in danger. Can't promise that, Nathaniel said, but there was something almost like humor in his voice. 20 minutes later, they were moving through the forest in wolf form. Emma had shifted without thinking this time, her white wolf running beside Nathaniel's massive black form. 2 other wolves flanked them, a gray male Marcus introduced as Cole, and a brown female named Sienna. The mate bond hummed between Emma and Nathaniel like a live wire. She could sense his strategy, his determination, his fear for his son. Could feel him doing the same with her. It should have been invasive. Instead it felt right. The mining facility appeared through the trees like a wound in the landscape. Rusted metal and broken windows, surrounded by vehicles that were too new, too clean. They shifted back to human in the tree line. Marcus passed out clothes from a pack. At least 40 hostiles, Cole reported, his nose twitching. Maybe more inside. Rachel's scent is there, Sienna added. And the rogue who marked Emma. David. Emma's hands clenched into fists. I hear voices. Nathaniel's hearing was sharper than hers. He moved closer to the building, pressed against the wall. Emma followed, Marcus and the others covering their approach. A window hung open above them. Voices drifted out. Don't understand why we're waiting. Rachel's voice, tight with impatience. Just kill the Alpha King and be done with it. Because the boy needs to watch. A male voice Emma didn't recognize. He needs to understand what happens to those who resist us. The plan was always about the child, a third voice said. Older. Cultured. Hidden in shadow from the sound of it. His mother's gift makes him invaluable. Telepathic control over wolves, he's the key to ending the alpha bloodlines forever. Emma felt Nathaniel go rigid beside her. His hand found hers, squeezed hard enough to hurt. Isabella had that power? Rachel's voice was surprised. I thought she was just human. She was human with dormant wolf blood. The gift manifested when she mated with the Alpha King. The shadowed voice paused. Unfortunately, she refused to let us use the boy. A regrettable loss. Emma's blood ran cold. They were talking about Isabella's death like it was a business transaction. We should move, Marcus whispered. Nathaniel nodded. His eyes met Emma's. I'll create a diversion. Draw them out front. You go through the back, get to Caleb. Alone? You're stronger than you think. And you can feel him, you'll find him faster than I can. Nathaniel touched her face. Trust yourself. Emma wanted to argue. But through the mate bond, she could feel Caleb's terror. Could sense him getting weaker. Okay, she said. But if you die, I'm killing you. Nathaniel's mouth quirked. Noted. He kissed her once, hard and fast, then shifted and was gone. The diversion was explosive. Nathaniel's howl shattered the night. Emma heard shouting, gunfire, the sound of wolves engaging. She used the chaos to slip through a broken window on the east side, landing in what used to be an equipment room. The scent of wolfsbane and blood was overwhelming. Emma followed Caleb's presence through narrow corridors, past rooms full of caged wolves, prisoners, she realized with horror. This operation was bigger than just kidnapping. She found Rachel in a loading bay, standing guard outside a heavy metal door. You. Rachel's eyes widened. You're supposed to be dead. Surprise. Emma didn't wait for more conversation. She shifted mid-stride, her white wolf launching at Rachel's throat. They went down in a tangle of fur and fangs. Rachel was fast, trained, vicious. But Emma fought with a mother's fury, and that made her unstoppable. You don't understand, Rachel gasped as Emma's jaws closed on her shoulder. She shifted human, blood streaming from the wound. Isabella, she wasn't supposed to die. But she wouldn't cooperate. Emma shifted back, her hand on Rachel's throat. Who killed her? Someone you trust. Rachel's laugh was wet, painful. Someone who's been there all along. Give me a name. Won't matter. You're too late. Rachel's eyes were glazing. He's already won. Emma left her dying and burst through the metal door. Caleb was in a cage in the center of the room. Small and pale and crying. But he wasn't alone. Grant stood beside the cage, one hand on Caleb's shoulder. Nathaniel's oldest friend. His most trusted advisor. Emma. Grant's smile was sad. I was hoping you'd make it. This won't work without you. Emma's wolf surged forward. Grant raised his hand, and she slammed into an invisible wall. I wouldn't. Grant's eyes flashed gold. I'm an alpha too, you see. Rival bloodline. Thought extinct, but we're very good at hiding. Emma pushed against the barrier, felt it give slightly. You killed Isabella. I loved Isabella. Grant's voice was raw. But she chose Nathaniel. Chose him over me. And when she had the boy, when I realized what the child could do, he stopped. She wouldn't let me use him. So I made a choice. You murdered her during childbirth. Emma's voice was shaking. You let Nathaniel think it was his fault. Necessary sacrifice. Grant moved toward her. Just like you're a necessary piece. White wolf. Royal bloodline. Your power combined with the boy's gift, we can control every wolf in North America. That's why you used David. Why you arranged the cottage. Emma's mind was racing. You needed me. I needed your bloodline activated. The rogue's mark was supposed to do that slowly, naturally. You arriving early and saving Caleb, that accelerated things nicely. Grant pulled out a blade that gleamed with purple residue. Wolfsbane. The mate bond makes you vulnerable now. Anything that hurts you hurts Nathaniel. He lunged. Emma tried to dodge, but the barrier held her in place. The blade sank into her side, and agony exploded through her body. Through the mate bond, she felt Nathaniel's scream. They both went down, Emma in the mining facility, Nathaniel somewhere outside. The pain was excruciating, multiplied by the bond. In his cage, Caleb's eyes began to glow. Bright, terrible gold. Every wolf in the building froze. Emma felt it, the compulsion, the overwhelming force of Caleb's power activated by terror and rage. Grant smiled. Perfect. Now, boy, he turned to Caleb. Tell your father's wolves to kill him. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. Caleb's power hit like a tidal wave. Emma felt it through their bond, the terror, the rage, the overwhelming force of a 6-year-old child who just watched his father collapse in agony. Every wolf in the building stopped mid-movement, their eyes glazing gold as Caleb's gift seized control. That's it, boy. Grant's voice was triumphant. Now tell them. Tell your father's wolves to kill him. But Caleb was shaking his head, tears streaming down his face. No. No, I won't. You don't have a choice. Grant moved toward the cage. You're a weapon, child. It's all you've ever been. Emma forced herself to her knees, the wolfsbane burning through her veins. Through the mate bond, she could feel Nathaniel's pain mirroring hers, could sense him fighting to stay conscious outside. She reached for Caleb. Not with her hands, with the bond they'd formed when her blood had saved his life. Caleb. Listen to my voice. The boy's head snapped toward her, his glowing eyes finding hers. You're not a weapon, Emma pushed the thought at him with everything she had. You're a protector. Like your mom was. Like you've always been. She's lying, Grant snarled. Your mother was weak. She died because. Your mom loved you, Emma continued, blocking out Grant's voice. She died protecting you from people who wanted to use you. But you get to choose now, Caleb. You get to choose who you are. Caleb's small hands gripped the cage bars. The gold in his eyes flickered. Choose, Emma whispered. Be the protector she raised you to be. The shift in power was instantaneous. The controlled wolves spun as one, their gazes locking on Grant. The alpha's expression shifted from triumph to shock as 40 sets of teeth bared in his direction. No. Grant backed toward the wall. Boy, I command you. You don't command anything anymore. Caleb's voice was small but steady. His eyes blazed brighter. Attack him. Now. The wolves moved. Grant shifted mid-lunge, his human form exploding into something massive and terrible. His alpha form was easily twice the size of Nathaniel's, with fur the color of old blood and eyes that burned yellow. Ancient. Powerful. Built for war. He tore through the first wave of wolves like they were nothing, his jaws crushing bone, his claws rending flesh. Emma watched in horror as bodies fell, as Grant fought his way toward the door. Toward freedom. No. Emma forced herself to stand. The wolfsbane made her vision blur, made her legs shake, but she pushed through it. Her white wolf surged forward, and this time she didn't fight it. The shift was complete. Perfect. Her wolf form was smaller than Grant's but faster, built for speed and precision. She hit him from the side, her teeth finding purchase in his shoulder. Grant roared and threw her off. She hit the wall hard enough to crack concrete. Through the mate bond, she felt Nathaniel's fury. Felt him fighting his way toward her despite his wounds. Together, she sent to him. We end this together. Nathaniel crashed through the doorway in full alpha form, black fur bristling, silver eyes blazing. He was wounded, weakened from the mate bond injury, but he was still the alpha king. He and Emma circled Grant from opposite sides. 2 against 1. Grant's voice was distorted by his wolf form. How noble. You killed my mate, Nathaniel snarled. Tortured my son. There's nothing noble about what happens next. They attacked in perfect synchronization. Emma remembered something Nathaniel had mentioned once, during a quiet moment at the cabin. How Grant had fought in the territory wars decades ago. How he'd taken a silver blade to the left hip that never quite healed right. She went low, her teeth finding that old wound. Grant's howl of pain gave Nathaniel his opening. The Alpha King's jaws closed around Grant's throat. For a moment, everything froze. Then Nathaniel's jaw tightened, and Grant's ancient power shattered. The rival Alpha collapsed, shifted back to human as he died. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading across the concrete. There are more, Grant choked out, his eyes finding Emma's. More like me. Hidden. Waiting. He smiled through bloody teeth. This was just the beginning. Then his eyes went dark, and he was gone. The aftermath was chaos. Marcus arrived with reinforcements, secured the facility, found the caged wolves Grant had imprisoned. Pack members who'd questioned his authority over the years disappeared one by one. David's body was in a back room, his throat torn out. Grant had killed him when the rogue became a liability. Emma shifted back to human, pulled Caleb from his cage, and held him while he cried. Nathaniel wrapped around both of them, his arms a shield against the world. It's over, he murmured into Caleb's hair. It's over, son. But Emma knew it wasn't. Not really. Grant's words echoed in her mind. There are more. The pack gathering happened 3 days later. Emma stood beside Nathaniel in the great hall of his estate, dressed in clothes Marcus had insisted were appropriate for a Luna queen. The entire pack had assembled, hundreds of wolves, all watching her with expressions ranging from curious to hostile. This is Emma Reed, Nathaniel's voice carried across the hall. She saved my son's life. She exposed a traitor in our midst. And she is my true mate. The murmurs were immediate. Emma kept her chin up, her hand in Nathaniel's. She's human, someone called out. She was human, Nathaniel corrected. She's a white wolf. Royal bloodline. And she's my equal in all things. He turned to Emma, his eyes holding hers. If you'll have me. Emma's throat was tight. She could feel the pack's judgment, their doubt. Could feel how much this moment mattered. But she could also feel Caleb's small hand slip into hers. Could see the hope in his eyes. Yeah, she said softly. I'll have you. The pack erupted in howls, not all approving, but enough. Nathaniel pulled her close and kissed her in front of everyone, claiming her as thoroughly as any wolf could. When they broke apart, Caleb tugged on Emma's sleeve. Does this mean, he bit his lip. Can I call you Mom? For real? Emma's eyes burned. She dropped to her knees, pulled him into her arms. Yeah, kid. For real. Caleb buried his face in her shoulder, and Emma heard him whisper, I love you, Emma Mom. I love you too, she whispered back. Over Caleb's head, she met Nathaniel's gaze. Saw the grief there, the guilt he'd carried for 6 years finally beginning to ease. Thank you, he sent through the mate bond. For giving me back my son. My life. You gave me a family, Emma sent back. A purpose. A home. The private mating ceremony happened that night, under the full moon. Just the two of them in a clearing deep in pack territory. No witnesses except the stars and the forest. Nathaniel stood before her in human form, his hand extended. No going back after this. Good. Emma took his hand. I'm done running. They shifted together, her white wolf and his black form, and ran through the moonlight. The mate bonds sang between them, complete and unbreakable. When they finally stopped, both panting and exhilarated, Emma shifted back first. I have a question, she said. Nathaniel shifted, pulled her against him. Ask. Isabella. Tell me about her. Really tell me. His arms tightened. For a long moment, he was silent. Then the words came, halting at first, then flowing like a dam had broken. He told her about falling in love with a human woman who saw past the monster. About the joy of discovering she carried dormant wolf blood. About the terror of watching her die and blaming himself for 6 years. I couldn't save her, Nathaniel said finally. But you saved Caleb. You saved me. She saved him too, Emma said softly. She died protecting him from Grant. From people who wanted to use his gift. She was brave. She was. Nathaniel's hand found Emma's. But so are you. And I'm grateful for both of you. They held each other as the moon set, two broken pieces finally made whole. 6 months later, Emma stood on the porch of the cottage. Nathaniel had bought it for her as a mating gift, had it completely renovated. The claw marks were gone from the doorframe, the blood scrubbed from the floors. Now it was just a beautiful cabin in the woods, perfect for weekend escapes from pack politics. In the yard, Caleb played with 3 other wolf pups, his laughter bright and clear. He'd started training with Marcus, learning to control his gift. Emma helped him practice every day, teaching him that power was a choice, not a prison. She'd kept her nursing job at the local hospital, used it as cover for her Luna duties. But she'd also started reforming pack healing practices, combining human medicine with wolf traditions. Saving lives in both worlds. Her hand went to her stomach, to the slight swell there. 3 months along. A girl, the pack healer had confirmed. Nathaniel came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. His hand covered hers on their daughter. Any regrets, he asked softly. About the life you left behind? Emma leaned back against him, watched Caleb tackle one of the pups in play. Felt her daughter flutter inside her. Sensed her mate's love through their bond. I didn't leave a life behind, she said. I ran toward my real one. Nathaniel turned her in his arms and kissed her as the sun set over the forest. In the yard, Caleb called out, "Mom. Watch this," and Emma's heart was full. She was home. Epilogue. 3,000 miles away, in a penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline, a woman set down her phone. The report was thorough. The white wolf Luna. The Alpha King's son with telepathic abilities. And now, a pregnancy. A white wolf Luna carrying the Alpha King's heir, she murmured. How inconvenient. She picked up a photograph, surveillance footage from the pack gathering. Emma and Nathaniel, Caleb between them, all three smiling. The woman's perfectly manicured fingers held the photo over a candle flame. Watched it curl and burn. The old bloodlines think they've won. That killing grant ended the threat. Her smile was cold. But the real war hasn't even started. She stood, moved to the window. Her reflection stared back, beautiful, ageless, dangerous. And when she blinked, her eyes flashed silver. Not gold like wolves. Not any color that should exist in their world. Silver. Pure and terrible and wrong. Let them have their happiness, she said to the night. It'll make destroying them so much sweeter. In the distance, thunder rumbled. A storm was coming. The woman smiled. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this, kindly hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments section and share this video to family and friends.